Hey everybody, welcome back to another Merlin on Time. So excited today to be reviewing a watch that I have had on my wish list on Aliexpress from Pagani Design. And my buddy Timmy at Timmy the Carpenter, you can follow him on Instagram there, bought this watch, and before he even opened the watch, before he even took the plastic off of the watch, obviously he opened it to look at it, but before he even took the plastic off the watch or began to enjoy the watch, he gave it to me so that I could review for the channel. It is the PD1662. It's in the Rootbeer colorway. I already had the Coke colorway for this watch, and so what I'm going to do today is compare the two side by side. There are some improvements that have been made with the newer models. I bought my Coke version well over a year ago. It's one of my favorite watches. It's an automatic GMT. Tim got the Rootbeer color, and it is a newer version, and there's definitely some improvements that Pagani has made with respect to the watch from then till now, and so you're going to want to check this out. It's still one of the best value for dollar watches that you can buy, really any Pagani design. I love the brand, there's no question about it, but the brand does have some quality control issues from time to time. And if you check out the unbox and reveal, which you can check out right here or here, wherever it pops up, you'll see that I had some issues with Tim's bracelet. However, the watch itself is pretty fantastic, and there's an update with respect to their customer service that I want to bring in the video today as well. So check it out. We're going to start with the up close and personal video montage of the watch, and we'll go over the specs in comparison to the model that I have, and I'll just give you my final thoughts on it. I think it's well worth the money, and it's definitely a fantastic look, so check it out. I hope you enjoyed the video montage, and my thanks once again to my friend Adrian at Somewhere in Time. Be sure to go over to his channel and subscribe to it. He has some wonderful videos on watches as well, and he provided the music for the intro, for the outro of these videos, as well as for the montages that I do. And so just want to say thanks to Adrian again. Before we spec out the new Pagani, I do want to talk about the improvement in packaging. The newer ones give you an option to receive the better packaging. I think it's a little bit more money, but some of them are actually starting to come in this nicer kind of pleather/leather box, which is a lot better than the cardboard box and just foam cushion that the watches normally come in. And so there is my Coke version, and this packaging is just a lot nicer. And here is the Rootbeer version of the watch, and it is absolutely beautiful. We'll get the caliper tool out, Super Cali, to measure this off for you. Let me just wash this thing off. And I gotta say that the reason I haven't bought this watch yet was because I wasn't really sure on the rose gold color, whether it would have been for me or not. But after having worn this most of the week this week, and my wife even commented she really likes the look of the rose gold, I'm sold on it, and I'm definitely going to be buying one of my own. It is an absolute fantastic watch. So let's just get Super Cali out here and measure it from the 8 to the 2. The dimensions of this watch are really nice. You've got a 41.5 millimeter case. You've got to the crown, you've got basically 45 millimeters. The lug width on this is, let's see here, you got a 20 millimeter lug width at the lugs, and the lug to lug distance on this particular watch is, let's see what it is here. It's going to be, if I can get that on there right, a little bit further than that, Chris, 47. Let's call it 47.5. So the dimensions are quite nice. Other specifications, it's obviously got the automatic GMT movement in it. I'm not sure what it is, although I think it's pretty much just a Chinese movement. Not sure if it is Pagani's own movement or not. It does have a beautiful sapphire crystal covering the dial, a nice cyclops on the date window to magnify it, a ceramic insert bezel, and all, of course, 316L stainless steel. And the bracelet that is supplied is solid links, and it does come with screw pins to adjust the bracelet. And we need to talk about that right away as far as the watch is concerned, because when I got this watch, and you can see it in the unboxing video, one of the screws that this watch came with on one side of the bracelet was stripped, and I had to remove it because there was just no way it would stay in the watch. The thread's stripped. I couldn't tighten it, and when I tried to loosen it to get it out, it just wasn't coming out, so eventually it would have probably fallen out while Tim was wearing this watch. And so I had to adjust the bracelet from the other side, and when I tried to remove the pins on the other side, the one pin was so badly bent that I couldn't use it. And so had it not been for the fact that I own, at least 6 or 7, maybe 8 Pagani design watches, and had a spare bracelet on hand where I could pull out one of the screw pins and use it on Tim's, he would not have been able to use the watch. Not only that, but this particular bracelet, let me just show it to you on the other watch here. They come with a diver's extension on the clasp, and the micro adjust is found within that diver extension. And so you can see here, if I give a little squeeze, it'll pop up a little diver's extension, and then you can access, I'm trying not to get the face of the watch in the way, you can access the micro adjust that's inside of this clasp by using a tool inside there. Now the problem with Tim's, and I've never had an issue with Pagani bracelets like this, the diver extension on Tim's is not opening. It will not open, and therefore you cannot access the micro adjust to adjust it. Now on my wrist, and probably on Tim's as well, I would have liked to slide the adjustment to the next hole, the one that's in the middle, which you can just barely see now past that link. So the diver extension, unfortunately, did not open up. So Tim contacted Pagani Design. So let's talk about their customer service before we just get into a bit of a comparison, and I want to show you just some of the ways that this model has improved on this model, which came out about a year later, I suppose. Tim contacted Pagani Design. They are sending him a brand new bracelet, which is awesome. I am glad to hear. He did have a fairly quick response. They did touch base with him every day. They wanted to have a picture of, you know, the screw pin sent, and I can show you the one anyways that was bent. Let me just try and pull it out of this box. This one just simply would not go back in, and I did show this on the unboxing reveal, but I want to show it to you again. You can just see as I rotate this pin. Oh my, this might be the stripped one actually. Oh yes, okay, so this is the stripped one, which would not thread any longer. The threads at the top were stripped, but the other pin, which is right here, this is the one that it has a nasty bend to it. You can see it right there. So obviously this one barely came out, and it certainly wasn't going back in. And so again, if it wasn't for me having a spare bracelet to size this for my friend, he wouldn't be able to wear it. And so good on Pagani Design. They responded fairly quickly. He sent the pictures. They asked if it came like that. He said yes, it came like that. They asked, is the bracelet broken? He said yes, and I insisted that he get a new bracelet simply because the micro adjust also was not working. And even though it's sized sort of to my wrist and he could wear it right now, the new bracelet is coming. Good on Pagani Design for their customer service in that regard. So let's talk about the things that this watch made improvements on over the older version now. So guys, I just want to make a couple of quick notes about what Pagani has done to improve their watches. Now obviously there's always going to be some quality control issues with Pagani. I mean, that's just the reality. On this particular watch of Tim's, it was the bracelet, but they're sending him a new one. And at the end of the day, I was able to at least save this watch from being completely unwearable in the meantime for him. The biggest major improvement, I think, overall is the bezel. You know, on this watch, the one that I got over a year ago, you can see there's quite a bit of wobble backplate on this bezel, and it is a GMT. You do want it to be, you know, locked in. Shake this up so get it started here. Anyway, maybe it's not going to get started. Let's just get it going here. Okay, so this is just a 60 click unidirectional bezel, and there is, as you can see, quite a bit of back play. Now the reason that 60 click isn't so great for a GMT is if I wanted to set the time an hour ahead, I would have to go ahead by 3 clicks, and it's just a hair off of the 12, and then 2 more clicks to get it to the 2, 3 more clicks to get it to the next one, and 2 to get it to the 4, and it's always a little bit, just a hair off, and obviously it's a little bit wobbly as well. You can see the back play on it. Immediately after I opened this out of the box, I wanted to check the bezel, and this has a wonderful 120 click unidirectional bezel as well, and absolutely no back play. So this is the major improvement. And so in order to go ahead and narrow, you just have to click it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it lines up perfectly. Go ahead the next hour just by clicking 5 times over, and everything is lining up perfectly, and there's no back play. So they've definitely made huge improvements on the bezel of these watches. So kudos to them for that. The second thing that they improved on was the crown. Most of the crowns on the Paganis that I have gotten, at least say that are a year old or more, I had to put some silicone oil in this because they are gritty, they're grindy, and in fact when you go to screw this one in, or at least when you went to screw this one in before, I always had to push toward the case a little bit just to make the crown threads a little less gritty, and they made a huge improvement on that with this one. The crown comes out really nicely. There's no gritty feel at all on the threads, and it screws in quite nicely as well. So that was again, a major improvement over their previous watch. The other thing that I want to show you is I think the movement itself was dialed in a little bit better with respect to the GMT hand. So I'm going to go ahead and take the crown out of this one, and I'll hack the movement. And you can see on this GMT, it's just after 11 p.m. It's set to my home time. Let me just line up that bezel properly here. And so if I were to pull out the crown and hack the movement, you can see when I get to the 12 o'clock that the GMT is lagging a little bit behind. And when I set these, I set them right on the nose. And so by about 5 after, almost 10 minutes past, the GMT is right at the 12 now, where it should be right at the 12 once it winds to there. So if I go to 1 p.m., you can see how that GMT hand is a hair behind until I get to about 10 after, even further, and then it's at the 1 o'clock. On this one, I noticed that the hand itself, the GMT hand, is landing better closer than 10 to 15 minutes. So let me hack the movement. We'll wind it to the 12, and you can see it's almost right on the 12 immediately. See that? 12 and 12. And go to the 1 o'clock here and see how that GMT hand, it really is syncing up with the markers on the bezel. And so they've dialed in this movement, and it's working much better for the GMT hand. I found that with the Coke one, I was at times adjusting the GMT hand on it just because it just bugged me that it wasn't on the mark that it should be. The crown on these, or I should say the crown guard on these things is pretty much the same. Although the crown on this one is a little bit bigger, and the crown is not an improvement. This is bigger than this one. Should have stayed at the smaller size, or at least increased the crown guards. And the Cyclops on these watches is always a little bit off, and when I put it on wrist, I think you'll see what I mean. So let me give you the wrist shot now. This thing, oh, how crazy of me not to show you what I'm rocking on my wrist today. My beautiful Timex Expedition Scout. Just look at that thing. It is awesome. Greatest budget watch ever. That Timex Expedition Scout. I just absolutely love it. So once you are wearing any of these Paganis with the Cyclops on them, it's almost impossible to see the number. Now this is as if you were looking at the time, and I really got to crank my wrist over and up a little bit just to get to see the 19 in the date window there. So the Cyclops placement on these, I think I would have preferred no Cyclops at all, but because of the angle that you're actually looking at the watch, I think the Cyclops needs to be lowered a hair so that when you're looking at it on an angle, you can actually see the number inside instead of having to, crank your wrist over so that you're facing right on. And no one looks at their watch like that when it's on their wrist. It's usually on a bit of an angle. So guys, that's just some of the improvements. The crown is definitely better. The movement in this watch is definitely better. The bezel is definitely better. The finishing is pretty standard. It's nicely finished on both watches. So, but you are getting much better value for some of the improvements that were made. And that notwithstanding with the issue that I had with the bracelet. I've never had an issue with a bracelet like I had with this one, but Pagani Design is sending my friend a new one, and so you can get this watch currently for around 120 Canadian dollars, which I believe is likely around the $100 US mark, and it is an absolute stunner. Thanks again, everybody, for checking the channel out. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm at about 360 subscribers right now, and I'm going to have an amazing giveaway lined up at 500 subscribers. So be sure, if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button. And remember, wherever you go, make sure that you have a great looking piece to wear on your wrist, like this amazing Pagani Design PD1662 Rootbeer colorway. And make sure wherever you're going that you get there on time. If you like, why don't you check this video out? And again, please be sure to hit subscribe And God bless you. We'll see you in the next one.